We have a vision to be an international university of choice, anchored in Africa, dynamically shaping the future. Our mission is to inspire our community to transform and serve humanity through innovation and the collaborative pursuit of knowledge. To fully embrace the digital universe which we are beginning to inhabit, this is what we do at the University of Johannesburg. UJ, where the whole is far greater than the sum of its parts.
So, to kick us off, it is my great pleasure to welcome Christopher Cox. He is the Dean of Libraries at Clemson University in South Carolina. Christopher, warm welcome, and over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to share my screen here so you guys can see my slides. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about predictions for academic libraries after COVID-19. Now, obviously, we've had a lot of challenges in moving toward different types of services, offering our collections, trying to figure out exactly how to offer what we do in a safe and healthy environment. I wrote an article in Inside Higher Ed, which was called Changed Utterly, which talked about some of the things I'm going to talk about today. But I also wanted to update some of those predictions. And obviously, I hope we have time for questions so we can talk a little bit about what you think of some of these ideas and whether you agree or disagree and what ideas you may have for predictions. So the question is, how will COVID-19 change content delivery in our libraries? How will it change our research and services? How will it change space design in the future? And how will it change our organizations and their priorities? So content delivery, we all know there are challenges right now with physical collection access. If we want to buy books, it may take some time because it'll take time for the publisher to get those produced. It'll take time to get them in the mail. It'll take time to process them because a lot of our staff are in different areas. They might not be in the library. They might be at home. And then we have the challenges of quarantine, where it may take 7 days or so, based on the New Realm study, for people to get access to those. So the question is, how do we make our print collections accessible, and are there electronic alternatives we can look at? So a lot of libraries are buying electronic content. They're moving toward more e-only purchasing during the COVID-19 time. A lot of members of HathiTrust, which is an organization which has digitized a variety of out-of-copyright as well as in-copyright books and materials, they've offered access to an emergency temporary access service, which offers access to copyright materials that faculty and staff can use. The other thing we've done is a lot of on-demand digitization of items so that we can have them available for people, but there are challenges with that. One example here is course reserves. You may be discussing this in listservs in your area. We definitely are in the US, where faculty are asking for, because a lot of libraries have moved away from having in-person reserve materials and they've moved to teaching classes online. How do we provide video content? We have lots of DVDs, we have lots of physical media, but it's not always easy to digitize those because of copyright or because of other restrictions related to author rights. Do we buy different streaming services? That's great, but it costs a lot of money, and there are a lot of challenges. I'm showing you Canopy. You may be familiar with that service. The challenge with them is that if you were to buy that whole catalog, it's about $2 million, and being able to do demand-driven acquisitions with them is expensive. So a lot of folks are also pointing toward free options, toward having students subscribe to Netflix and to other things which may have the movie on them, and using that as a course cost. So what do we see in the future? Well, one of the things that we really need to be looking at is the development of a global digital library. We've had a lot of conversations about this. There are different initiatives happening across the U.S. and across the world. How do we figure out a way to digitize the materials that we have in print, the legacy materials that we have, in ways that we can access them, not just preserve them? So that if this happens again, and in all likelihood we may be in this situation again, that we are able to offer access? It won't matter if you're a member of HathiTrust. You'll be able to have access to those things. How do we support a new sustainable purchase model? We've seen a lot of changes in big deals and folks going away from Elsevier and some other big companies and purchasing items a la carte. We've seen ebook challenges with publishers who want to provide ebooks in a way which says this is a one-use item. It's not used in the same way that might be in a physical library. And also, we want to advocate for flexibility in copyright interpretation so we can offer access to these materials. Research and services. Right now, we're doing a lot of contactless curbside pickup, a lot of self-service. And we're doing all our instruction and research, or most of us are doing a lot of our instruction and research online. So one of the challenges here is, what do you do in special collections, where a lot of the materials are physical and where usually you would come in and look at those materials and consult with an archivist? Well, instead, you're seeing things like you see at the University of Manchester, which they do is they'll set up a document scanner, document camera. They'll take pictures of those items. They'll beam them digitally. They'll have conversations via Zoom or WebEx, and they'll talk about those materials with a researcher, as well as do some in person as well as online consultations. But really what we need to do is we need to move to having more digital content. So what does the future look like? Well, we'll continue to move away from transaction to service. A lot of the curbside stuff, the stuff where you pick up items, probably will remain sort of outside of our normal services so that we can spend more time working directly with our patrons. There's an expectation, and there will be an expectation by users, that all our content will move, that all our services will be available equally online as well as in person. I think a lot of the time what we did was we offered online as an alternative to what we did in the person. Now I think it's going to be equal. They're going to expect the same quality. There's support for open research. With COVID-19 being something that we need to solve quickly, researchers are not worried about publishing in journals anymore. They're trying to easily share their research. How can libraries assist with the sharing of the research? How can they offer platforms where researchers can do that work and collaborate with other researchers across the country and across the world? We've seen libraries move into open education resources. So they're offering open textbooks. They're offering free course materials, which faculty can then make their own. They can create them in ways that allow them to offer the order of what they want to present in that right way, the exact content that they want to do, and so they can make it their own as well as save students money. We're going to see more of that. And then we have to deal with the personalization versus privacy issue. How do we, if we want people who are online, because I believe online course delivery is going to be a common thing for all universities in the future, how do we offer personalization of those things online, but also deal with the privacy issues? Because we're going to need to do the things that Amazon and others do. What is this person researching, and how can we offer similar content to them without that research interaction, because they may not come to see us? Space design. Right now, we see the library as not a gathering space, but as a place or a space for collaboration and peer learning, but as a place where we kind of schedule folks. We want them to spend a little bit of time in the library, but not a lot, because of worry of the virus spreading. So we see limited hours and physical distancing. You can see at Clemson Library, we have screens around the library which talk about our capacity, and we ask students to book seats. And we also have a lot of stickers and different reduction of furniture to be able to show people where to sit, so that we and the idea of the seat booking is so that we move people through the library. We have a 2-hour shift so that more and more people can use the library instead of just having the same people come and use it all day. So what does the future state of space design look like? Well, I'm almost positive anyway, that the library will become a campus gathering place again. I don't anticipate that we're going to be always working in this kind of seat booking environment for the future, but there's going to be interest among our patrons in coming in and not only having collaborative spaces, but having really individualized individual spaces. So they're going to want to have environmental control. They're going to want to be able to create a space that is enclosed. They're going to want to create a space that might have its own lighting, its own temperature control. They're going to want more enclosed spaces. We're going to need to look at offering more outdoor spaces in our libraries, whether they be inside the library or outside, so that people are more safe in doing their research. We also will be working with others across campus, because if the density issue continues to be a problem, we won't be the only campus study space. So we'll have to work in identifying other spaces and encouraging students to go to those spaces. Maybe the library runs those spaces. It just depends. And I doubt the open office concept that we've all gotten to know and love will stay in the same way it has. So for organizations, the current state is a lot of employees are working from home and on campus. There's concerns about health and safety, and you need to learn new technology. You see me with my dog there working at home. I'm back in the office now, That's actually, I missed the dog, but it's a little better. But the future state, what does that look like? Well, if we have a lot of people working from home and a lot of people working in the office, we're going to need to do more deliberate communication and community building. It's going to be really hard when there's people who don't see each other on a regular basis, or people who are working in different locations, to be able to bring them together and help you move forward a particular mission, vision, and direction for your library. There's going to be more movements for employee rights. We've seen that a lot more with staff and faculty at libraries concerned about their health and safety and making sure that they lobby for that as part of it. And you see an article there from Library Journal, which talks about library labor and the need to organize. Organizations are all going to become learning organizations. We're all going to need to learn new technology. We're all going to need to go with the flow, knowing that this virus may come and go, or we may have other things that come that challenge the way we offer our services. And lastly, there's going to be a need for a new advocacy role, in that more and more we've seen that not everybody has access to the internet. There's a great digital divide across all our countries, and having students and faculty be able to access things online when they take online classes. How can the library play a role in making sure that everybody gets equal access to internet and to the resources that we provide? And that's all I have. Though, what are your predictions? Is my question to you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Maria and to the next speaker.
Christopher, thank you so much. That was well within time. So we will be gaining a little bit of time for extra questions afterwards. And there are lots of things that you've been saying, Christopher, that really resonate with us here in South Africa.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.